Mr. Chair, Excellencies, distinguished participants, dear colleagues. On behalf of the United Nations system, let me warmly welcome all of you to today's conference and congratulate the government of Belarus for organizing this event and contributing to the discussion on the role of middle-income countries in addressing issues of sustainable development. It's a privilege to be here at this time in the beautiful city of Minsk, in this beautiful location filled with art on such an important occasion. We cannot but be inspired. First of all, I would like to acknowledge the active role that Belarus plays as a member of the Open Working Group on Sustainable Development. We at the UN Development Group look forward to the valuable contribution you make to this debate, which will influence the future global set of development goals and targets. At this point, I also would like to acknowledge that the Human Development Index of Belarus has been consistently improving and has reached 0.79 in 2012, which is higher than in some European Union countries. It is indeed commendable that Belarus has improved 11 points in its human development ranking in the past 2 years, from the 65th place to the 50th place. This is a remarkable achievement. At the Rio Plus 20 conference in Brazil last year, the member states of the United Nations made a strong statement and affirmed that we cannot grow economies now and postpone for later our concern over inequalities and the state of the environment. Indeed, for economic growth to be sustainable, countries must address questions of inequalities and heavy exploitation of natural resources. With this important affirmation, we also see new challenges emerging. In much of Eastern Europe and the CIS, we have yet to find the optimum balance between growth, equality, and environment. On the one hand, the most recent internationally comparable data indicate that extreme poverty in the region has largely been eradicated. Likewise, virtually all children attend primary school. Women in this region generally enjoy more equal opportunities than others in other regions. Yet, many middle-income countries in the region have yet to reach the global health targets set forth in the Millennium Development Goals, which I'm sure, as you all know very well, were set by the world leaders at the historic United Nations Summit in the year 2000. For example, while other regions are seeing a decline in cases of HIV, in 2011, Europe reported 120,000 new HIV cases, mostly in Eastern Europe and Central Asia. Equally, although women have many opportunities, as I have just said, their representation and decision-making remains at low levels. Large inequalities in income and wealth are on the rise across middle-income countries. Income inequality is increasing faster in this part of the world than in any other. This cannot continue if development is to be sustainable. In terms of environmental sustainability, several countries in the region remain among the world's 20 most carbon-intensive economies, and energy losses account for almost 1/3 of their total domestic energy use. The challenges of moving towards sustainable production and consumption patterns without exacerbating social tensions while still enjoying the benefits of economic growth remain a challenge for public policymakers across the region. After the Great Recession, we need nothing less than a great transformation to ensure the well-being of the people of the region and the planet. The discussions you will have these 3 days will inform a wider process which is underway at the global level as a follow-up to the Rio Plus 20 conference and input to the development of sustainable development goals and the post-2015, in a post-MDG development framework. Going forward, the next global agenda will be to define a set of goals that follow the Millennium Development Goals, MDGs in short, which have a target date which is not so far away, 2015. The MDGs were developed rapidly through a somewhat narrow process. In developing the next set of targets, the UN development agencies are making significant efforts to facilitate inclusive consultations on post-2015 development agenda. These consultations are taking place at different levels. These include national dialogues and thematic consultations covering issues such as governance, health, education, inequalities, growth, and employment. There are 11 thematic consultations. And a global consultation, which is in fact the most extensive consultation that UN has set forth, through a virtual platform called The World We Want, and a survey tool called My World 2015. In fact, this site is still open until the end of this month, so if any of you is interested in making a contribution to the direct contribution to deciding what will be the next set of development goals, you can still vote. So it is My World 2015, www.myworld2015.org. So far, more than 500 million people, at least 600,000 people, all over the world have engaged in the UN facilitated consultations. I am very pleased to say that around 50,000 of these have been in our region. Many countries, including Belarus, Ukraine, Moldova, and Serbia, are using social media to extend reach even further. We are really making an effort to ask those who are not asked for their voices to be heard. We will hear later tomorrow about the national consultations underway, in some places completed in our region, with examples from Moldova, Serbia, and Turkey, as well as Belarus. Among the 88 countries that are participating in the global consultations, 15 of them are in Eastern Europe and Central Asia. All of these are being supported by UN country teams under the leadership of the UN resident coordinators to listen to people about what they think should be the development priorities and concerns coming up. So, what are we hearing? Of course, the consultations are still going on, the process is still going on, but we are hearing some very interesting feedback. People are talking about jobs, people want employment, especially young people. People want to preserve the environment, they are concerned about the trees. It's very simple, very real. People are talking about health. I was referring to the MDGs vis-à-vis HIV, but people are going beyond communicable diseases to non-communicable diseases, including issues such as mental health. And people want responsible and responsive governance. That all sounds pretty straightforward. We, as the UN, are finding this process of listening both rewarding and insightful. The quality of discussions and the level of ambition have been really very inspiring. Let me, maybe to conclude this part of my speech, let me suggest two concrete ways in which this region's MDG experience can be useful for deliberations on post-2015 Global Development Agenda in general and Sustainable Development Goals in particular. First, the MDGs were designed primarily with low-income and less developed countries in mind. In order to be made as relevant as possible for middle-income countries, the MDG targets and indicators have to be adapted to reflect national circumstances. In many cases, the countries, in fact, looked at MDGs in different regions and rayons districts within the countries to look at equality issues. In addition, for example, again, in adapting the MDGs to national circumstances, because universal primary education had already been largely achieved in the region, many countries refocused MDG targets and indicators on secondary and post-secondary education and on the quality of education rather than access to education. Likewise, in order to make MDGs as useful as possible, their targets and indicators are also, as I mentioned, desegregated by sub-national, region, or locality. These twin processes of MDG, nationalization and localization, if we can call it that way, had a significant impact on how the MDGs affected development in many countries. In the past decade, we have seen hundreds of millions of people being lifted out of poverty globally. If, as many of opponents argue, the Sustainable Development Goals should be applied universally to upper as well as middle and low-income countries, then the MDG experience from our region suggests that we should expect more cases of nationalization and localizing global development goals. Second, development finance is obviously a key component of the future goals for eradicating poverty and moving towards sustainable development. Debates on development finance often focus on levels of official development assistance and whether developed countries are providing enough official development assistance to developing countries. Clearly, more of this is better than less, and efforts to bring official development assistance levels up to 0.7% of the gross national income in developed countries need to be sustained. This is something that the UN continues to push forward. On the other hand, we also know that the global importance of development assistance as a source of development finance is declining. This is apparent in our region, where remittances sent home from labor migrants are, as a rule, many times larger than development assistance inflows, particularly in low and lower middle income economies like Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Kosovo. Household budget and labor force survey data in many countries indicate that these remittances have a strongly pro-poor character. They are more likely to flow to low-income and vulnerable households. Our region's experience therefore underscores the global importance of treating remittances not as a coping strategy for the poor, but as a key source of finance for development. It also underscores the importance of transnational efforts to reduce the dangers and vulnerabilities associated with global migration flows. Lastly, let me underscore the importance of state budgets and financing for MDGs and sustainable development priorities. In middle-income countries, donor funds and resources brought to the table by the UN system are never sufficient to address problems of inequality and sustainability, nor these resources were meant to be sufficient. Therefore, we must work together to build on comparative advantages on each of the partners. The UN contributes ideas, solutions, facilitates the process, and ensures broad participation in a project. The government provides leadership and ownership of solutions, as well as financing and legislative change needed to make innovative solutions sustainable. Sharing of experiences, knowledge, and expertise among middle-income countries is an essential component of this process. The Global Human Development Report of United Nations Development Program, UNDP, entitled The Rising South for the year 2013, shows this very clearly. We are seeing more and more cooperation among middle-income countries in the form of East-East or South-South exchanges as a model to learn from and to facilitate the achievement of sustainable development results at national, regional, and global levels. At this point, let me reiterate the strong interest of UNDP to partner with middle-income countries as we define the development priorities for the future. I am sure the discussions that you will be having here in Minsk will provide an excellent input to the global thinking and policy discussion on sustainable development goals. Of course, we are not abandoning the MDGs, but we are looking at the next generation of development goals. I trust your participation in this conference will help you and your governments, your countries, to embrace the challenges of the future and respond with a truly multi-sectoral and inclusive strategy for sustainable results that will take us further in the pursuit of human development objectives. I thank you for your attention and wish you a very successful conference.